there are going to be a series of I told you so's over the next little bit. Many of them will be aimed at maggots, the vast majority. Yes, welcome to Motang Monday, our Twitch streamers. By the way, there's my Blue Sky social, how you get there, at halsparks.bsky.social. In case you want to, in case you're part of the big gut Twitter exodus, which needs to happen. So, but then there's some on our side, and I think they're, depending on who we talk about, they're easy to sum up. In chat room, before I bring this person in, I'm going to say hi to you. Remind everybody to hit that like and annoy the maggots around you, because again, one of the things these folks are on is a meltdown hunt, and I would love for them to come here because they ain't going to find it. Right? Why did Tara get fired? That I don't know. That I think it was just because they downsized and it was all bullshit to start with. I think she was screaming into a cylinder, and I think they, it's one of those things where, like, I got a job at a newspaper. Cool. What do they do with your writings? They take every episode, and as it runs off the print line, it goes straight into an incinerator. But it's a job, right? But no one's hearing what you're writing or seeing what you're doing. It doesn't matter. They paid me to say it. That's the problem I have with Twitter. And that's the problem I have with it. I am on Blue Sky now, and I will be primarily posting on their threads and Instagram. I'm calling it The Bit, where we're taking a bite out of crime. I have some reveals that I will still put out on Twitter as jokes, maybe over the next week until I get my file down. So I've requested all my data from X, which you can do. And I'm pulling, once it's sent to me, which has all my, things I've written over the years on there. Once I get that file and I can download it, because I'm not going to contribute to paying that dude's salary at all. Not anymore. At a certain point, maybe it had value. I questioned that leading up to the election, especially in hindsight, but certainly not anymore. There is no reason to be on that site. Even if it takes people a while to figure out where the big spike is, there is absolutely no reason. If you're I don't know anybody who was thinking about buying a Tesla on our side of the aisle that's still going to do it, right? So how is this any different? Find another electric car company. There might be 2 seconds of, oh, what's Rivian like? Is it a different charger? Yeah, it's a different charger. That's it. And MAGA will fuck things up, and we will be there with our mocking voice and to remind them.
Former Democrat.
Hold on. Let me, though, if I may, immediately after this, look at the people who come out of the woodwork to kind of bash the party or the people involved or any of that shit as if they knew. And this lady, who I used to work for. I used to know this woman personally, and I tried to warn everybody that when she, like I think the majority of the people who now work at Democracy Now, and the people who were allegedly on our side are not. And immediately she went over to Fox News. This is the first thing Marianne Williamson has done since the election. She went on Jesse Watters' show. Now, keep in mind, it isn't so much that Marianne went on Fox News, which is bad enough. It isn't also so much that she went on to kind of wag fingers at Democrats to the glee of Fox News either, which is also bad. It's that Jesse Watters used to have a side job on Fox and Friends and the other shows on there, where he would wander around Chinatown being racist, making fun of people's accents, asking them questions that so he could make fun of the swap in their R's and L's. He was the Skeeter in the morning kind of morning zoo asshole who was genuinely racist and in the bag. So this is it's a short segment, so we won't do much of it. But the new resistance, she's going to get ready for another resistance, is Jesse Watters' thing. And I think ultimately it's going to be a persistence is the key. But I'm not picking the language, and I'm not letting them pick the language. I'm being completely I'm cutting angles this time. I'll explain what that is later. But this is This is Marianne Williamson popping up on Fox News on Stretch Ben Shapiro's show.
Former Democrat presidential candidate Marianne Williamson is here.
And smiling right out of the gate.
All right, Marianne, pretend I'm a therapist. I'm not going to bill you. Just sit down on the couch at primetime. Tell us what you're upset with, who you're upset with, and why.
Oh, by the way, because you're being brought on this show to vilify Democrats and their ideas. And yeah.
Who I'm upset with is a small group of media elite, political elite, and donor elite who have felt that they had the right to strategize for the Democratic Party as opposed to giving the power to the people, the Democratic electorate. If the Democratic electorate had been exposed to their options in this campaign, if for the last year and a half we had...
It would have been probably Gavin Newsom and Gretchen Whitmer. By the way, and they would have lost, even though they would be a winning ticket, because afterwards, the Democratic Party would have eaten itself alive in the 6 weeks following.
Had a robust conversation about what was possible, what we should be doing for the American people.
Yes. The one thing that was missing was a Marianne Williamson RFK Jr. ticket.
What we should articulate as a true alternative to what Donald Trump was offering, what we should do for the American people over the next 4 years, universal health care, tuition-free college and tech school, so many things that we could have done to actually make life better for the 70% of Americans who are
who would have all voted against that stuff. You would have simply made it easier for him to call you a commie. That's it.
Struggling, for the over 60% of Americans who are living paycheck to paycheck.
Okay, again, a misnomer.
We would have won, I believe, or at least we would have given a fight that would have been something to behold.
We were within 2%. We're within 2%. After the California votes, it'll be within 1%.
Instead, we had a few of the people who you've heard, that you've had on your show tonight, the same old, same old. It's the culture of the Democratic Party. You said that the American people have rejected the Democratic Party. I don't think the American people have rejected the policies that the Democratic Party has stood for. They rejected this elite, smug, arrogant culture, which acts like a suppressant on the voices of the party. They were more concerned with getting the approval of Liz Cheney than of our traditional Democratic base.
No, they weren't. They were trying to win over that secondary margin. Trump won that secondary margin.
Some of the people who need the help the most and who have traditionally looked to the Democratic Party to help them. Millions of those.
Also, those people did not show up because Trump's thing appealed to them more. If they did, they wouldn't have listed Gaza as the reason they voted for Trump. They were insane. They were misled. The elite problem with the press that she's talking about has nothing to do with how the fucking Democrats tried to message things with a "I'll be a president for all people" message. The idea that failed is kind of grotesque, but the idea of doing it is not something new. What they did was they pressed this idea that somehow it's a wash. Trump slightly to the left of Biden and Harris on Gaza. And a bunch of people who were supporting her and RFK Jr. went, he is? Well, I like that.
People stayed home this time because experience has taught them that.
Yes, experience has taught them that even though Trump has told Netanyahu Gaza is a cancer, Gaza is the problem, and he should do whatever he needs to get rid of the problem, it probably won't happen. I mean, does anything really happen?
There's not much help coming from there. And that's why we lost this election, and that's why these people need to step aside.
Yeah, they did reject the snobbiness and the out-of-touchness. That's true. But
yeah, all those Democrats just golfing all the time at their private clubs, that they rejected that entirely.
They also rejected the governance. The last 4 years were bad. The spending,
well, you think so? I don't think
they were bad. Everybody agrees they were bad. But
no, they don't.
Marianne, we got Barack Obama.
But the problem is that the reason they were bad was never argued, not in any forceful way. And again, this happened across the economic sphere where they started talking about the economy and inflation and stuff as if it had underpinnings that tied it to 2008, 1982, 1929, none of which were preceded by a pandemic. And that part of it was allowed to make him think that it was about economic policy instead of mature, functional government.
Not everybody agrees they were bad, but that's okay, Jesse. I get that you think they were bad. So
okay, well, if they were good, then Kamala would have won, and Joe would have run for re-election, but they weren't good.
I do think it was go on.
Okay, but
we don't have
Barack
to stay there.
Obama and Michelle, they're going to be in Hawaii over Thanksgiving. They're back in the mansion. They're going to be eating the turkey, pass the gravy. They're not even affected by any of this. They came in, they picked.
And neither is anybody in Trump's circle. Neither Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. Well, next to Vladimir Putin. So what's your point? And again, I love that this asshole's still stuck in the hating on wealth idea, as if the Obamas are some sort of like thumb on the scale oligarchy.
Winners and losers, and then they go back to Honolulu. Is there any accountability for any of these kingmakers, Nancy, Chuck, all these people that orchestrate all this stuff? So,
asshole, for what? What are you asking? That they face some comeuppance for pushing Joe out?
the people can't decide. Is there any accountability there?
Well, unfortunately, I agree with what you just said
Oh, God.
about Barack Obama. The Democratic elite needs to face the facts. They have two choices.
Yeah, nothing's worse than an elite black guy from Chicago who worked his way up as a community organizer, became a state senator, and then a senator for the state, and then president of the United States. It's just so gross, isn't it? I mean, his whole life living with a silver spoon up his ass. This is so nasty and gross. You don't need to hear the rest of the argument. There is none. Basically, he wants her to come on and shit on Democrats' ideals, and they bat back and forth, that kind of thing.